Hello once again, Star Wars unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing Show. I'm your host, Darth Tuba, and today we have a bit of a hodgepodge. We have a couple of items from Entertainment Earth, we have an item from Hasbro Pulse, and then we have an item from Star Wars Celebration, or I should say two items. And what does that mean? Well, for those who've never been, Star Wars Celebration has a huge gift shop. Okay, unlike other Comic-Cons that just have tons of vendors everywhere. Celebration, of course, has vendors, but they have their own dedicated store. I've been to several celebrations, not for many years, but when I went, generally speaking, the store took hours, and I mean hours, to get through. You'd be on a big line. Sometimes they do virtual queues, things of that nature. You get a wristband, come back hours later, and you can walk through the store. Generally speaking, it's just Celebration merchandise, but they did have a couple of unique, interesting items. Some things that I remember from the past. There was who could forget things like the Admiral Akbar kind of sushi set. It was like a plate and spoons and maybe chopsticks and mat. There was also a space slug oven mitt and little odds and ends and things of that nature. This year, one of the things that I looked on, and by the way, a lot of this stuff sells out before the end of Celebration, but there are always things, like I just mentioned, that were a little bit odd, a little bit kind of, head scratchers, and maybe they don't sell. So then what the company that runs Celebration does is they put it up for sale. They put a store up online and people can order it. Generally speaking, it's just a few items left, whatever they weren't able to sell at the event. So seeing as how I did not go and not attend Celebration, I just thought I would look at the store, and I did find two items that I had to get. The first item is this guy. Yes, this is from Star Wars Celebration Europe 2023, good old Droopy McCool plush. Now, those who know me know that I'm a musician, music educator, by trade, by profession. My Darth Tuba channel is a hobby that I do on the side. So anything that I can combine my love of Star Wars with my love of music, I'm there. And two of my favorite groups that I loved from all of Star Wars is the Cantina Band from Episode 4 and Max Rebo and his band from Episode 6. Now, I did enjoy some of the music that we've heard in the sequel trilogy and the prequel trilogy, but they just didn't have a lot of dedicated footage of the bands or the diegetic musicians in the scenes, if there were any. So I don't have as much of a connection there, but loved those musicians from both Cantina Band and from Jabba's Palace, like this guy here, Droopy McCool. Of course, in the special edition, they have expanded on these the three-piece group and made it like a whole big, added a couple more horns, had a couple of backup vocals, another singer, another couple of wind players, a guy playing the gong and the drums. So I was all there for it. A lot of people complained about it because Lapti Nek wasn't heard anymore. I liked it. I always have Lapti Nek on my soundtrack if I want to hear that again. So I'm okay with it. But here's Droopy McCool. Now, by himself, he's okay, but he needs someone else. He needs... Oop, get that tag out of there, will you? He needs Cy Snoodles. Cy Snoodles, Droopy McCool, they are awesome, awesome plushes, okay? And this one, I love this. Look at this little guy. Now, I've actually been losing some of my plushes, meaning I've been selling them off. I've been trying to just kind of keep some of my vintage ones from the 70s and 80s, and everything else I've just kind of picked and chose and got rid of a lot and kept only a handful. But I had to get these guys to be part of my set, Unfortunately, let me put this guy down. See if these guys will stand. I think they do kind of stand on their own. Okay. Unfortunately, Max Rebo, probably the most popular character of the three, sold out. I think he's probably the most popular character, A, because he has maintained, well, so is Droopy McCool for that matter. Cy Snoodles kind of went from this kind of like puppetry thing to more CG, which some liked, some didn't like. I get it, I understand both sides of that argument. Personally, it doesn't bother me too much. As people know me, very little bothers me when it comes to Star Wars. But Max Rebo, I think, because he's just had this kind of life beyond the movie. Obviously he was on the barge and the barge blew up, so everybody thought he died. But there have been lots of side stories and legend stories saying that he actually got off the barge and survived. And then, of course, we watch The Mandalorian. Oh, sorry, The Book of Boba Fett, and Max Rebo survives. So I just think he's more in the public eye. So I think people were looking to get him. Plus, he comes with that cool little organ keyboard. So that was neat. But sadly, I wasn't able to purchase him. Oop. Let me just slide this way. I wasn't able to make the purchase because that was one of the characters that was sold out. And it just seems so sad. These two guys all by themselves. So it's okay though, because Star Wars Celebration 2015 not only had a Max Rebo that just about matches the ratio of size with these two characters, maybe a tiny bit smaller, but that's okay because he gets a little bit of. So this one actually talks, or shall I say sings. Lapti neck. So there we go. Hope you're hearing this. So that means that this guy is now part of the set. And now we have the... Stay up, Droopy. I know you're droopy, but don't droop too much. Now we have the complete set. So I'm excited. These guys... In fact, I'm going to place these guys kind of nearby right here. I'm going to put them here because they are my musician friends. Sorry, Grogu. I'm going to put these guys in front of you for right now. Get them there, and then I'll get this guy up here. There it is. All right, so really cool. All right, so that was my one Celebration purchase. As you know, I've been thinning things out. Things are still coming in, but a lot of stuff's going out too. Just trying to do quality over quantity, as we've talked about. But there are some items that we pre-ordered, and let's see what we have. If you've been keeping up with the channel, you know that I've actually been unboxing a lot of my Black Series. Black Series is going through a transition in my brain. I love Black Series. I love the detail, but I've been kind of kicking back a little bit. Like, I don't want... I'm not going to be a completist when it comes to Black Series. There's just too many figures. They're too expensive, and I have no connection with a lot of the stuff, like especially video games and expanded universe. So instead, I'm just going to kind of pick and choose. I'm kind of trying to float down the path of, if they don't make a vintage collection figure right away, I'll get the Black Series version, which is what I've been doing with like the Andor and Obi-Wan and Book of Boba Fett series. But you see, now they're starting to have vintage collections come out of them. I don't know why the vintage collection takes longer. Who knows? So let's start with our Hasbro Pulse. Speaking of which, at the time of this recording, Hasbro Pulse is very close to, not only have they backed the Ghost, but they are actually close to the first tier, which would be one of the additional figures. I know Hera comes with it. I can't remember the other ones, which one is which for which backing. So still got about 20 days, 24 days at this point. So I hope you guys, I know it's while we're unboxing. In fact, you know what I think I might do here? While I'm talking, I'm just going to kind of unbox everything. All right, so I can kind of just talk while I do this. So my thought on this, guys, is that Hasbro Pulse, I'm sorry, HasLab, I should say. I think they had a few misses. I mean, obviously, there was a few things that weren't backed. I think that there's a huge contingency of people that are very much into vintage collection size, 3 3/4 inch. Because they have a vintage collection of figures and vehicles from the 70s and 80s, and and in some cases even the 90s, and they would like to see that set of size figures expand, not only because it's close to their childhood, but also because it takes up a little less room, not much less room, but a little less room than say a Black Series. So I know Hasbro has been pushing and pushing and pushing the Black Series. They do that with all of their figures. They do that with Marvel. They do that with DC. Everywhere you go, you see that 6-inch figure being like the way to go. I understand the profitability of it. I get the business model, totally. But when it comes to HasLab, where this is basically crowdsourcing, I really do feel that, look what happened. They tried to make a Black Series Rancor. Nobody bought it. Nobody wanted it, or very few people wanted it. Then they were trying to do Black Series weaponry and roleplay. Yeah, I get it, but you release that stuff anyway. I mean, there's plenty of lightsabers out there, whether it's coming from Hasbro or coming from more on the Disney side with Galaxy's Edge. They're there. There's no shortage of that. So I think that they backed buyers backed the barge. It was a vintage item. I got it. People love that thing. They backed the Razor Crest. You know, even though it's more modern, it is kind of taking place in that time period. Now, they've backed the Ghost. Again, another ship, a cool ship, something they haven't done yet. So I'm excited for that, and I really, really hope that they continue down this path. And I hope now the price is a little high, but I had no delusion that it wasn't going to be. Okay, this is a high-end product. It's the highest end toy product you're going to get. So I get it. If people can't afford it, if they don't have the space for it, I get it. And if it didn't get backed, it wouldn't get backed, you know. And while I'd be sad to see it not get backed, I'd also be happy that that money would still be in my bank account. But as a collector and as somebody who's pulling back on things, I like the higher end stuff. I want to have less of them. I might be releasing and getting rid of some of my boxed and even loose vehicles to make room for one or two or three or four or five bigger items. So we'll see where they go. So I said we'll start with Hasbro, or I said Hasbro Pulse. And this is, ooh, nice. Oh, yes. These are our Tuscan Raiders. I am so excited. Again, loving the Army Builder concept with Hasbro. I found some nice little places. For this, I always plan on opening up. I don't have any issue with them. Okay, so we got. Now, of course, you know, these are a lot of the soft goods make this a little bit easier to do, and I did it relatively quickly in Hasbro style. Generally, think some of these things take a long time, but we've got one creature here. I love the soft goods, and I love the different color scheme of the outfit. I'm glad they didn't just go with the standard Tuscan Raider beige outfit. You know, I think that was a smart move both in the story and in the toy, because we have them. We have tons of them. We don't need more than them, you know? Although I also remember, like, sometimes I forget, you know, this is... Oh, man, let me get this guy in. Let me put his weaponry together. One of the things that I sometimes forget, collecting has been, and it's something I've really noticed, collecting is a long process. There's a lot going on. Oh, this looks like... Oh, okay. Oh, they all have... Oh, I see. Okay, so this guy, he's got his weapon. Looks like this particular bag of weaponry is for all of them. So, just want to get the gun around his shoulder there. Don't let his little headpieces get in the way. Cool. Okay. And he's got his gaffy stick. I love the whole scene. And I loved the Obi-Wan... I'm sorry, I keep saying Obi-Wan. The Boba Fett kind of backstory with the Tuskens and how he was kind of saved by them. I thought that was really cool. I mean, there he is. Look at these. Again, they're very similar, you know. Probably a lot of repacks, repaints. Okay, you're building an army here. But, you know, not quite the same, slightly different color. Okay? So, I absolutely adored that story. I thought that was such a great way to go to build, not just to build Boba Fett's story, but to build the Tuscan Raider and not make them just savages, you know? They're savages, savages. All right, I understand, you know, some people don't like... I mean, look, I get it. You know, they were portrayed as bad guys. They were portrayed as, you know, those Tuskens walk like men, but they're vicious animals. And, you know, we needed a foil for... It's a one more closer to home, just with the black inside stuff. You needed a foil for Anakin to first take out something that wasn't quite human in his mind to justify it. And I understand that. But at the time, it's funny, you know, how we're living in a different time now, that now people look at indigenous species with a very different lens. And these were indigenous species, you know, in the story. So I'm glad they did that. It just gives you another way of thinking, that's all. And there's nothing wrong with that. All right, and then lastly, it looks like we have a very similar one. Kind of more traditional Tuscan on the inside, and then more of the newer Tuscan on the outside with the the outer robe. So really cool. All right, so nicely done. Well played, Hasbro. Please make 2 more sets of different Tuscans. It's funny, like, you look on the inside of the box and it looks like you can get, like, I suppose you could buy 2 and then you would get, like, well, the problem is that I guess you could change the robes up. If you bought another set, you could change the robes up, which I guess would be cool, but I'm good with the 4. So, all right, what else we got here? We got, looks like we got a vintage collection, number 280. I'm just going to make sure there's not a second thing in here, and there is not. Boom. Oh, yeah, Darth Vader, Death Star 2, VC, Return of the Jedi, 40th anniversary, VC 280. Got the correct mask. Now this figure, I like how it also includes, if you look at his left arm, it actually includes a fake hand and the exposed hand and his lightsaber. I just love the display of this. To me, this card tells so much of a story in itself with the picture and with the way they displayed the headpieces and stuff, that I'm fine leaving this exactly like this. That's why I don't uncard these. Although I am curious to go through and look and see how many Vaders they have released. I mean, there are different Vaders, but it's funny to look on like collector sites to see how many Darth Vaders since the 90s they have released, and there's literally 100. There's like 100 Vaders, or close to that. Between 50 to 75 to 100 Vaders. When you definitely over 100 when you include battle packs and ones that are included in vehicles. I mean, they've been a lot of Vaders. But in terms of the vintage collection themselves, I know they have some, but really, really cool. So, love it. And it came, well done, Hasbro. Nicely packaged, protected. Actually, that wasn't Hasbro. That was Entertainment Earth. Again, Entertainment Earth, really good with that. Speaking of Entertainment Earth, one more. Looks like we are back to a Black Series, which I am going to unbox because, as I said, I've been more enjoying the unboxing of these than trying to keep them forever and ever. I loved the return. This is the Book of Boba Fett episode. Remember that when it became a Mandalorian episode for 1 or 2 episodes and a Luke Skywalker episode, and it was very weird. I get it. I don't know, like, to me it's like, well, this one's gotta get to rip off some of the cardboard here. To me, what we're dealing with is we're in unfamiliar territory, right? Star Wars on TV. What does that look like? Well, we saw the first stage of this with The Mandalorian. Bunch of episodes. So there you go. Fairly good. What am I missing here? Okay. And then we saw the next episode. What was after? I guess Boba Fett, right? Was after that. Then we see Boba Fett. I guess we see Mandalorian Season 2. And then we see Boba Fett, and now we're going into something different. We're seeing a different way to handle everything. And everyone kind of got up in arms about it. Not everyone, but people got up in arms about it. Why are we watching Boba Fett and all of a sudden it's like another Mandalorian episode? And it's like, well, I always felt like, well, okay. I guess it just comes down to the fact that I accept what the creators want me to see. There's a reason they want me to know this part of the story at this point in time. Could they tell it at a different time? Sure they could. I'm all for that if they wanted to. But this is where they wanted to tell it. Okay? I would say this, if they just all of a sudden needed Mando's help, Mando shows up, I would have wanted an explanation of what happened to Mando, what happened to Mando and Grogu. Why is Grogu there? Where did he visit Grogu? So so we got Luke Now, this is interesting. Of course, the look of Luke Skywalker, okay, in the Boba Fett and Mandalorian is obviously a little different than what we remember it from Return of the Jedi. It's that uncanny valley. It is 5 years later, so maybe they are trying to age him slightly different. You know, I really think that for this, they just kind of went with flat-out regular Mark Hamill Return of the Jedi look. Now, this comes with a couple of accessories. There's a little base here. There is this little, what I believe is this thing that you put Grogu on. I think. Kind of showing him leaping. Sorry, I didn't have my, you know what I'm saying? So it shows him leaping in the air. It also comes with this little box that includes this little tiny, remember the box that had Yoda's lightsaber in? So I'm going to put that in there. Close it up. Oh, maybe this is the remote. I'm sorry. Is this for the remote? Yeah, sorry. This is for the remote. And then you have of course we have Luke, his lightsaber. And put his lightsaber right on him. He was not included. Oh, I see. Okay. That's right. Okay. Yeah, this is where Yoda... Okay, I got it now. I'm sorry. This is where Grogu is leaping from. And I'm not quite sure... Let's see, can I get this in here? This is kind of weird because it looks like... It looks as though if I'm supposed to... I'm trying to have him leap from it, but it doesn't seem to do that. So I'm going to check this out. Alright, so he also has included a little frog. His little container that has his little mesh vest in, and then of course the backpack. So I think the way I'm going to display this, can I, now this is interesting. Okay, can I put Luke in this backpack? Seems a little, how do I, alright, okay Hasbro, oh wait, there seems to be no way for this. Oh, wait. There it is. Okay. There's like one snap. So I guess I basically run his left arm through it. And his head. Sorry for the... Okay, and then... Oh, no, I did it wrong. Sorry. I think this might be fast forwarding, guys. I might just kind of put the high speed on this so that all right, there we go. No, go through there. Riveting television here, yes, I know, and I'm already up to 23 minutes, but there it is. I got him on there again. You know, I have a Luke. I do like that this Luke is kind of a different type of Luke in terms of what he's wearing. I didn't really notice it at first when he was. But it is definitely more of a, it is definitely more something that, I'm going to just put Grogu in the back here. There he goes. Now, this thing is a little loosey-goosey, and I don't know if I have enough, you know, they do these things, and I just don't know if they have enough to get it fully in there. Like, get the strap. Although I will say, that there is, there is a little bit of give, it's a little play. All right, so that works. I'm going to put his lightsaber in there. Good to see his good old-fashioned green lightsaber. And there he goes. All right, cool. Now, there are some other things here, as I said. There is a... kind of like this thing for him. I believe the idea is you're supposed to put this blast here like that. And I think you're supposed to attach Grogu to the end of this, like he's leaping away from it. But I don't think it's going to be realized that well. There's also a second hole in here that I'm not sure what's supposed to be in there. I'm going to hold his lightsaber in there for now. So anyway, it's nice. I mean, I'm going to actually store the other stuff inside the box, the frog too. I'm going to keep the box open just to kind of remember, because you have all these things all together and you forget what stuff goes with what, which is one of the reasons I don't always unbox. But these days I'm decided to do it, and I do resonate really well with this. Go the other way. Dude, turn your mouth. There it is. There you go. All right, cool. So it's a great figure. As I was saying, I love the more karate-like Yi style of the tunic, with just kind of a side belt around, kind of similar to like a black belt. It's just a different look from the Return of the Jedi Luke that we saw. I think when we were watching him in the end of season 1 of The Mandalorian, or sorry, end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and he had the robe on, and the robe just kind of really took us to Return of the Jedi. Whereas the when you look closely at him at the Book of Boba Fett episode without the robe, you see that he's definitely got a different look to him. So awesome. Of course, he's got a backpack on, so you got to make sure he passes the stand test, which he does. If you've watched my previous episode, you know I have a nice little loose Black Series kind of tiered display area now. He will fit beautifully along with all of his little accoutrements here, and that'll be great. So that is going to do it for this hodgepodge episode of Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing Show. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit me up on Twitter and X and Instagram, Facebook, Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing page. Check out all the other content. Excuse me. Check out all the other content on Red 5, and thank you Red 5 Network for sponsoring the channel. Until next time, may the Force and the toys be with you. And this.